Incite, planetary revolution, the color of God, and the substance thereof. Syndex Vuz is not an expert in any recognized field of study. After 1 year of college and 7 years traveling the states from California to Florida, working farms, factories, machine shops, warehouses, construction, and oil fields, Vuz settled down to over 2 decades of providing for a family on the wages of a common laborer. All the while, one burning obsession possessed his mind: revolution, both psychological and social. How to live a free, creative, righteous life in the middle of the cutthroat competition of the urban consumer economy. The voice of Syndex Vuz carries the weight and authority of the common man, the mass of humanity, and speaks for those in pain. Table of Context. Book 1, Science and Technology, the New Mythology. Book 2, Evolution 3. Book 3, The Evolution of Our Common Mind. Book 4, God, Property, and the Structure of Thought. Book 5, One World. Book 6, The Indivisible Whole. Book 7, Global Sorrow, Authority, and the Mind of the Child. Book 8, The Color of God and the Substance thereof. Book 9, One World, One Law. November 1992, Warning to Humanity. The greatest peril is to become trapped in spirals of environmental decline, poverty, and unrest, leading to social, economic, and environmental collapse. No more than 1 or a few decades remain before the chance to avert the threats we now confront will be lost, and the prospects for humanity immeasurably diminished. From an appeal signed by more than 1,500 distinguished scientists from around the world, including 101 Nobel Prize winners, the Union of Concerned Scientists. The word definitions are taken from the Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary. This is for the children for whose abduction from paradise we are all responsible. A message in a bottle issued forth from the bowels of society. For the common man with whom we share a common mind. For the whole earth which is screaming out the pain of man's ignorance. An apology. If my presentation appears crude, it is because I am only a common laborer, unskilled in the art of communication. I hope that my passion for truth outweighs my unrefined quality of writing. Because I want my children to read this as soon as possible, it will be simple in essence, as easy to understand as I can make it, though I touch on topics uncommon, sometimes difficult to convey. I will be general rather than specific. I beg the indulgence of whatever experts or otherwise scholarly persons whom chance may cause to read. This is part observation, part warning, part challenge to verify or deny, but for the most part it is a question unanswered and an invitation to explore for oneself the facts of life and their significance. The foundation for planetary revolution is laid within our common mind. It's a subject we rarely mention, if ever, the condition of the world and our relationship to it. Yet it is the single most important topic there is, personal problems notwithstanding, because it is out of these conditions and relationships that our personal problems grow. Perhaps on occasion, various aspects of what is happening may arise in conversation. The wars, the threats of war, the preparation for war, the destruction and poisoning of the land, water, and air, the economic and social injustice resulting in poverty, starvation, disease, violence, and death. Yes, sometimes we may broach a topic or two, and when we do, we have various opinions, invariably conflicting to one degree or another. One will quote the latest theory in vogue in the media, or among intellectuals, or in one's own particular social group. Or one will repeat a cliché voiced by the parental figures of one's childhood, frequently repeated. If it's not one thing, it's another. That's just the way it is. Human nature, it will never change. Or another may venture a simple observation of fact. Yet, in our discussions, however deep or shallow they may be, there is no passion to go to the end, to discover the truth. We are confused human beings living in fear, each pursuing his own narrow desire with a brain which has been conditioned through hundreds of thousands of years to survive by violence and competition, and molded through a lifetime of the past ignorance being pounded in each day from every direction by various authorities, parental, educational, religious, social, and legal. The cause of truth and justice. The intention of this work is to do that which is good in the sense of fertile, bountiful, suitable, attractive, free from disease, wholesome, and true. The intention of this work is to do that which is right in the sense of straight, direct, and real. It is our right in the sense of something to which one has a just claim, something that one may properly claim as due, to right, to adjust to the proper condition. This message is addressed to the common man and woman, common in the sense of relating to the whole community, characterized by a lack of privilege shared by all. This message is for those who labor in the sense of spending one's life energy physically and mentally in difficult, compulsory, strenuous, and painful work to provide the goods and services required by society. This is for the most common people of the earth whose labor is exploited for profit by the least common people who hold the power, position, and privilege of managing the world's material abundance. The warrior, too, here is addressed. Warrior in the sense of a person engaged in some struggle or conflict. This work is to suggest that there is something wrong, fundamentally wrong, with the whole of human activity of the earth today. Wrong in the sense of not right or proper, not according to truth or facts, not satisfactory, not in accordance with one's needs, without regard for what is proper or just. Wrong in the sense of unjust and outrageous injury, inhumane imposing of burdens one cannot endure, exacting more than one can perform, a relentless and unremitting subjection to annoyance and suffering, suffering caused by an infringement of rights. This work is to suggest that the most significant step in the evolution of man is occurring now, evolution being a process in which the whole universe is a progression of interrelated phenomena, a process of continuous change from a lower, simpler, or worse state to a higher, more complex, or better state. Mankind's role in this process now is to bring about immediately an immense, global, sudden, radical, complete change. Planetary revolution. We have arrived at the turning point. This is it, here and now. A sudden, immense, immediate, complete, radical, global change. No wealth, power, position, or privilege, nor any particular or special physical or intellectual capacity will allow an escape from this planetary revolution. Every aware human being sees that the world is in an unprecedented, rapidly expanding state of deterioration. This is a fact. The human being is at the center and is the driving force of this crisis. The population explosion plus the explosion of technology have created problems that seem to be beyond the scope of man's ability to solve. Problems that threaten to turn the planet into a ball of flame, either through the use of nuclear weapons or the greenhouse effect. If we do not first foul, waste, or otherwise destroy the planetary life support system of land, water, and air. Equally significant, if not more so, is the ancient evil of man's inhumane treatment of his fellow man, which is the dominant thread of our worldwide social fabric. Every form of violence, whether it is subtle, such as competition, greed, envy, apathy, prejudice, rumor, etc., or gross, such as rips and burns flesh, breaks and crushes bone, and ruptures internal organs, or utterly evil, such as slavery. Every form of violence is the norm, a way of life accepted by all, but of very few. At the present rate of progress, less than 20 years will have brought us to the end of civilization as we know it. Awareness of this fact must penetrate the consciousness of mankind in order for the population of the earth to act as one, all one, for we alone are responsible. There is no other to save us. There is no authority that will solve all our problems, not from the political, religious, or scientific arenas, nor from outer space, nor from the past or future, nor from heaven or hell. There is no conspiracy of do-gooders to change things from behind the scenes. No unknown mystic poet saint will rise from the masses to save the world, nor is there an inner authority hidden within our brain waiting to be let out and take charge. We have created this society which is destroying itself and fouling the environment. We create it, all of us together, each moment with our thought, which determines our behavior, minute by minute, hour upon hour, day after day, year in and year out. The manner in which the human brain now functions is the wellspring of man's sorrow. It produces our personal problems, and collectively we have produced the present state of the planet. Yes, the human brain has created many good and wonderful things, but it is not the good that now dominates the world. The initiator of human behavior is a genetic survival mechanism of the human brain passed down to us by our ancient ape-like ancestors. This mechanism, which came into being to ensure the survival of the individual, now controls the whole of human life. As a guarantor of personal survival, there is no equal. Human beings have increased their number in the last 100 years from 1.5 billion to 5 billion. Man has become the overwhelmingly dominant species on the planet. We have not only explored and mapped the whole planet, we have visited the moon several times. Our influence has altered every aspect of life on Earth. Animals, plants, and microbes are being domesticated, produced, reproduced, and genetically altered or manipulated. We have increased and accelerated the extinction of species alarmingly. Do we consider Homo sapiens invulnerable? Our knowledge and our tools, which originated as vague memories combined with sticks and stones, have developed to a degree limited only by our imagination. We have increased our speed of travel 1,000 times in the last 100 years. We have increased our speed and distance of communication 10 million times. Technological miracles in science, medicine, industry, agriculture, computation, recreation, personal convenience, and entertainment are now commonplace, everyday occurrences taken for granted and often abused by those few who may be privileged enough to partake of them. Meanwhile, the vast majority of us lack a meaningful education relevant to the actual sorrowful experience of the whole of human life, or even adequate food, clothing, and shelter, much less an opportunity to appreciate the significance of life. All too often, for far too many of us, our daily life appears to be an unending series of problems. Our ability to maintain our health and our sanity is taxed to the limit and beyond. Life seems to be a struggle of sorrow ending in death. Our love and our joy is fleeting, hollow, tainted. This aspect of life is part of the basic structure of the human brain. It is so because of the natural evolution of life. Suffering is not an attitude or a point of view or a particular set of circumstances, but a natural consequence of the overdevelopment of that part of the brain that demands we survive. This brain structure naturally channels our life's energy into a particular direction, which is ultimately and absolutely a dead end. This is so simply because there is only so much one can do to avoid death. Let's begin again. The whole of life on planet Earth calls forth a symbol from the human brain. If you do not allow your automatic defense mechanisms to reject it out of hand as too broad or general or naively mystic, visionary, new age, etc., or too intrusive on your private fantasies or fears, you will find there is an immediate, intense energy and utter urgency that exists within the phrase planetary revolution. It may be the most significant symbol created by man because it symbolizes the most significant event of this phase of evolution. Even the least aware among us senses on a primal level an atmosphere of impending doom. This is an observation born of intimate contact with an unprecedented magnitude of human sorrow and its manifestations, which are exploding the world over. The global society in which we find ourselves is in constant conflict between divisions of people. While we attempt to ignore the facts, they are relentlessly intruding upon our consciousness through the mass media and in our families, neighborhoods, nations, and every level of community. This is necessary to the process of human evolution, regardless of how painful it becomes. The necessity lies not in the degree of suffering that we experience, rather it is necessary that the old forms and patterns of human relationship end. It is not necessary to feel pain in bringing about the transformation of the world. Unfortunately, it is often only extreme pain and fear that calls our attention to crisis. Then, too, there are those so stultified by luxury, so insulated from the vagaries of living, that extreme pain constitutes not being able to take that European vacation, or not being able to buy a new car every year, or keep every hair in place, or make it to the country club on time. The structure of our banally evil society is collapsing of its own weight, and no one can, will, should stop it. What emerges from the soil of ruin is what we are preparing the way for now. What we may do is rise up, deconstruct the old world, and create a new one, using what is good and discarding what is not. The change is coming. The question is, will we be crushed, or will we become wholly conscious of what is happening and what we need to create?